Everyone, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 10 o'clock here. And, oh, not there. Hang on, need some spectacles. There we go. Tuesday, March 24th. And let's see, I'm running a little late this morning. So Matt, good morning. Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I got delayed on the highway this morning about 20 minutes, yeah. I thought I was going to have to call in for the meeting. So anyway, we're able to make sure it happened on time. They were painting the highway black, so it's beautiful. So good morning, everyone, once again. We do have a work session today, so this is the kind of meeting that is intended to be productive and not decisive as far as taking actions. And so we encourage everyone, we need to talk about it and figure out a direction that we're going and everything. So this morning, our regular agenda items are 2A, information discussion regarding an update from the Tri-City Regional Sanitary District regarding the construction contracts approved for the water reclamation facility site, piping and lift station. Do we have a Mike Krebs with us this morning? Is any representative here from the sanitation? No. Well, that's unfortunate.
Maybe you got delayed.
We might have to work on that later. Let's go ahead and skip that for now and move on to item 2B. You guys are in luck. We have with us from Payson, the town manager and the, what's your title again, Greg?
Economic Development
Director Greg, and it's information and discussion to present the Payson Rodeo Property Proposed Master Plan for 2026. And you have a presentation about what you guys are doing. We're so happy to have you here. Payson leadership doesn't usually come in here, and so we're really happy to have you with us today.
And thank you to James. We've met with him a couple of times. You're very lucky to have a man that has that much experience and is as welcoming as he's been to us. Both Greg and I are newbies to your county, so we wanted to make sure that we started off on a good feet with the supervisors. There's no reason that a community and a county can't work directly together. I actually come from Western Montana, so it's good to see all the cowboy hats. We didn't get that in Page, so it's nice to see those. But again, my dad would be very happy to see them. What we're here for is a couple of different reasons. One, mainly just to introduce ourselves and to see if we can't start doing some projects together. Big, small, whatever it might be. I think with my background, I was a county manager as well and had great working relationships with our communities, and we partnered up. The towns and cities did all the work, and we just got to put our name on it. So that's kind of what we're looking for you. We've talked to Supervisor Christensen about the rodeo grounds. And so we've reached out to the tribe. We've spoke with the rodeo committee. We'd like to do some improvements there. And I know this is just a information gathering, so we wanted to show you a few things that we've done already as far as some concepts that we're looking at, and hopefully you agree with them. So, I forgot to, we have Greg here too, so I'll let him talk.
Greg Martinez, right?
Correct, yes.
And you're new as well?
Yes, I've been here for about 6 months with the town of Payson. I haven't had a lot of experience in Globe, but I will tell you, I am just so impressed with the bones of your downtown. It has got a real attractive vibe to it. It's exactly what I think the metropolitan areas like Phoenix and Tucson are looking for. They want some historic, sorry for a Gen Z word, but vibes. They
Right.
want some historic vibes, and that's exactly what your downtown has. And so, anything we do together, Globe is always in our mind as well. How can we both support each other when it comes to something like visitation and tourism? Because those are very low-hanging fruit when it comes to our Arizona economy.
Okay, thank you. So I guess you see this. I'm just going to skip through some of this. I know you're busy. So this shows you your current site plan for the rodeo grounds. The left you can see is basically the true rodeo grounds. The number 2 is where the current fair building goes when it's fair time. What we would like to do here, you can see there's a huge drainage that comes through there. So it's luckily we don't have a ton of events right now because that drainage is a problem. What we would like to do, this is just showing you that big drainage that comes down all the way to the road. We would like to do something like this, except number 1 being the rodeo grounds, which is now covered, but it's open on the sides. This is a steel girder building. We're going to go out for an RFP within the next couple of weeks. So it's a pre-engineered building, estimated cost about $850. The number 2 again will be the actual fairgrounds. But what we would like to do, and I'm not sure how these slides go, is we would like to move number 1 down to where number 6 is and get away from that drainage and make that the parking.
So number 6 on this is the parking.
Is the parking lot right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll just move everything down. 4 is basically arena area, stalls for the rodeos, that kind of thing. And then the number 3 is housing for a long event. This is a potential if we add a 3rd building. The second building, which would be the fair building, is actually one of the most expensive. It's big enough capacity for 5,000 people. Estimate just the facility, not including plumbing, lights, windows, doors, everything that comes along with it, was about $1.8 million. So what we're picturing is a staggered, the town would have to do it in, over an amount of time. We could maybe do the rodeo grounds next year's budget, get that paid for, then move to the fairgrounds. That'll probably take a couple of years for us to set money aside in order for us to be able to start that. So we don't want to go into debt for this. We want to pay cash. Payson has enough debt problems that, if we can't buy it, we won't have it.
Okay.
Then basically these just go through different, we can spend as much money as we want kind of thing. Today though, we just wanted you, this will show you the seating. So this will be, seats about 5,000 people as well. It's a covered deck. I didn't know a whole lot about rodeo arenas, but I'm getting to know quite a bit now. So the standard size is 270 by 140. So that actually would be enough to have a concert in, to have other things besides just a rodeo. There it is, showing the covering. We had an event this weekend in Payson. We had a barrel racing and a pole racing, which is for cutting horses. We had over 200 participants. So you literally, we tried to recruit a gentleman into IT this weekend. You literally could not find a hotel room. We got him the last hotel room in Motel 6. Everything else was completely booked. So it's amazing how these kind of events in southern Arizona are really followed. I mean, there's one of our councilmen, Brett, is quite a roper.
Plus, tourism is shifting. A lot of times growing up in the 90s, tourism was about spending, going to Disneyland, going to Magic Mountain, going to SeaWorld. Now it's about experiences that are outside your day-to-day norm, right? So it's about, you think about the urban landscape of the metropolitan area of Phoenix, what do they not have? They don't have rodeos for the most part. They're not having an experience of cowboys. They're not having an experience of roping. And so a lot of parents who are millennials, who have kids that are Gen Z, Gen Alpha, are looking to get their kids experience because they're so digital. And so this is, you're going to see more of these rural communities like us that are going to invest in these projects because it will be an economic boom.
This next slide now is showing you the facility for the fair facility, or, you know, concerts, wedding. It's 25,000 square feet, not including the catering kitchen, the restrooms. That was the $1.8 million. We wanted to create it big enough so it could be multi-purpose. So it's big enough literally to put 2 basketball floors on, or 2 volleyball floors, or 4, you know, if we had a tournament, we could put 4 games going on at the same time with 4 different baskets. It's big enough for 3 volleyball courts, and then it's big enough for, 6 smaller courts. So it creates a year-round facility, not just a facility that's going to be used one weekend out of the year. We could even, you know, I don't like to, because my idea of government is not to compete against industry, but it could be big enough for a rental facility for a wedding or something like that. But I don't think that's our job to create a facility so others can come and have their wedding. It should be for a multi-use that the taxpayers get to use. And then this just goes through different ways that you could set up. This is the last one, how you could set up the fair with 200 different stalls or 100 different stalls, that kind of thing. So you guys have this digitally that we sent to, was it, who did, I'm not sure who we sent it to. It was James,
Yeah.
the gal that does all the work for him.
We've got it in our cloud somewhere. I'm
There
sure.
you go, somewhere. So we basically came here to extend our hand and to let you know some of the things that Payson's working on. And this is one of the ones that we felt that the county may be interested in pairing up with. Like I said, we're going out for RFP, so we'll get some prices. I hope that once we have some final prices and some final outlay, that we can come again and maybe be on your agenda to discuss potential planning of you know, finances, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then just real quick, you guys have some acreage in Payson as well. We just want to kind of get a head nod that if we find a company or a young entrepreneur that might be interested in that property, that it would be okay for us to show it. We're not sure what your plans are for it. We're not asking for you to give it to us at all. We're asking for, Greg is recruiting really, really hard some timber industry people that are coming down, actually.
Payson is nicely located on 87, gateway to Phoenix. And what we're noticing is that there are a lot of people who are either going to work remotely or they're going to commute from Payson to the valley. And so that 20 acres on 260 or more, I'm probably shortchanging it or overchanging it. Whatever council priorities line up, whatever priorities line up with you, I'm always with either the Arizona Commerce Authority or the Arizona Lodging and Tourism Association, but there are people who are very interested in coming into Payson to start some development. And I think what we're both saying is,
We're land poor.
yeah, and if it's your land, If you would like us to refer it to Mr. Minlove, we can do that, but it's a prime piece of real estate, and just interested in your thoughts about how that property, how you see it developing, if it's developing.
Okay. Well, thanks for all those comments.
Right.
We're just opening it up for discussion.
Sure.
So, anybody have anything you'd like to say about it?
Okay, I get the can of worms first.
Oh, sure. See, we don't know anything about can of worms, so you can't hurt
anyway,
us.
yeah, going forward, you know, on your layout, you know, volleyball, basketball, I think that's great, but the pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now. I mean, it's amazing, and it's from youth all the way through.
Yep.
And so it's one of the fastest growing sports. So, you know, that might be
You
part of as you're going forward, especially if it's indoors. It'd be amazing. It'd be a year-round sport.
And that's just a matter of putting stakes in the floor.
Yeah.
You know, where you can put the nets.
Yeah, and, you know, my 2 cents about the Payson property is I've been a supervisor for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
That property's been before us a ton of times.
Okay.
And it just seems to fall in the crack. So, discussion in the future, I would like to have very much.
Okay.
Because like I say, it and other properties have been before the board several times, but they fall in a crack.
Right.
And so,
And we
bringing
don't
that
have
up, I
anybody.
would like to have more conversation on that.
Sure, great. And like I say, we don't have anybody right now, but my shoe fell off. We just wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on your toes.
Right.
If we mentioned that the county has 20 acres on 260, if you'd like to look at it. And if it gets serious, we'll pay for an appraisal, you know, we'll pay for a survey, we'll do all that. We don't expect any of that from you. We just like to be a partner in going forward if by chance, you know, there's a resort or a hotel that we could come to you and say, hey, here's our plan for this, what do you think?
I think a work session on it would be a good thing if someone interested to
Great.
ask for a work session.
Yep.
So that way staff can be part of the conversation, the board can be part of this conversation.
Yeah, good.
Woody, you got something, don't you?
Oh, always. Thank you for coming down,
You bet.
both of you.
Thank you
It's
for
really
having
nice
us.
to meet you both, and I applaud you for wanting to come down and meet us and be a part of this. And so
Yeah.
your rodeo grounds to start with, you know, a covered arena in there is actually vital to Payson. I mean, there's a lot more that could be done with that arena if it was covered.
Yep.
You know, you have a lot of good plans up there and the expansions and all that. What's gonna happen with your maintenance and operation though? As you expand all that, your cost of maintaining and operating is gonna go up as well.
It definitely will. Now, we have set aside, which they're not actually used much, that comes out of our hotel motel tax. There's 3 people that the town of Payson pays for, specifically for the events facility. And they are underutilized. We actually steal them quite a bit for doing other things in town. Payson did do a little planning. That doesn't have to be spent on personnel, but it does have to be spent at the event center, and that's about $250,000 a year. So,
And as it grows, the amount that can be earmarked towards this event center could be comparable.
Right, because there'll be a lot of work in that.
Yeah.
You know, if you get that off the ground and going, so.
and we hope, you know, I owned my own business for 25 years. I was in retail. You know, we hope after a few years we get enough punches in the eye, we figure out how you can at least come into the black. Government's not created to make money, but we're also not created to spend the tax dollars poorly either. So,
Exactly. On the part of the property, I'm not any different than Supervisor Humphrey, basically. That property is set there vacant, nothing done with it for a long time. We've had discussions, me and Mr. James have had discussions, and we've talked about it in front of this board. The only thing I'll tell you is from my standpoint, is the county needs to make money off that property.
sure.
You know,
Yep.
we have no reason to have it, in my opinion. It's my opinion only. but we definitely need to make some money off of it. We've looked at it, we've actually kind of, maybe not formally had it appraised, but kind of, you know, so we kind of know where that went. And so it is prime property, it's right there on 260, it's right there in front of the college, the whole 9 yards. You guys are landlocked.
Yeah.
You know,
Big time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You need the room, I get it. So, coming up, I agree with Mr. Humphrey that, you know, work session would be the best bet to put it in so we could talk about it and
Absolutely.
go from there.
Yeah, and you know, just like any other piece of government property, it's got to be sold at appraised value. It can't be, you can't go under what the appraiser says. So we most certainly, when we show the property, will be showing it as if it's for sale.
And continuous revenue. So anything that does go on top of that property should be making money every single year, either through property or sales tax.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some options for it that'd be interesting to hear and discuss. So, thank you both for being here today, though.
You bet. Thank you.
Great drive. Never seen Roosevelt Lake.
So Greg, just to let you know, I live in Payson, so that's where I'm from, and the rodeo grounds have moved several times over the many
Yeah,
decades.
it was at Rumsfeld Park at one
And
point.
It was at Rumsey Park, which is a very nice venue, but was sort of in the middle of town, and it was decided by the council at that point to move it where it is. And it's been there for 30 years or 20-something without cover, and that's been the main complaint, that it got halfway done and not really completely done, and it needs to be. We have a very large and good fairgrounds here in the Globe area, 200 and some acres, and we're improving it. We're revitalizing it. We're bringing it back from sort of a bit of a blight situation. Used to be a racehorse venue, and so we're trying to create more venues and things like that, and it's coming along good.
Is it county property?
It's county property.
Yeah.
It's been part of the county for a very long time. Now that the north has grown significantly, and we do have a northern Gila County fair, so we have 2 areas that we have a fair. The county doesn't own any fair property there, so it becomes a cooperative situation with the town of Payson, and that's all good. I think what you're planning is all good, et cetera, and I think we all 3 agree that 20 acres approximately is something that we would like to move on and make money on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the difficulty of moving county property, though, it runs through the legal complications of how that happens, and whether it goes to auctions or bid, I don't know. They know,
Yeah.
so they protect us from doing the wrong thing. I think it's easier to move property from one government to another. We don't have to go through some of those
Right.
things, but you probably know that already. And then you guys, Payson, I should say, owns about 1 acre in the center of it. It's a very odd situation, but you own 1 acre in the very center of it. And I'm not sure what the purpose of that was, but you know, that's all old history now. I would like to see the county have more of a footprint in the fairgrounds. What that looks like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. We are facing some financial challenges right now with the floods and borrowing money to help with all of that. And so I wish I could say we have a bunch of money in this bucket over here that we'd love to commit to it. So those are all challenges. But I think you're getting the idea that we're all interested in the success of it all, because it brings economy to Gila County. Southern Gila County and Northern Gila County need to thrive economically. And so we can see both areas growing, and they're different entities of their own. There's people that come to Southern Gila County for a different reason than Northern.
Right, sure.
But the more opportunities available, and the website that we have, that we support, I should say, website, it's the marketing company.
Discover Gila Bend?
That,
I'm sorry, Discover Gila
Discover
County.
Gila,
Yeah.
Discover Gila County it has been marvelous for Gila
Yeah.
County, in the millions of dollars in visitors coming to Gila County.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's only going to grow.
Yep.
I see that it's we're on the edge of actual growth, actually. So,
Well, and this is, this is part of Gila County and Payson's history. The rodeo is something that Payson's very, very proud of.
yes.
So, why not? We got to capitalize on that. It's a no-brainer.
And to your credit, a lot of it is how you package the experience. Again, when we're talking about tourists, they want the experience. Where's all that money going to come from? The great state of Maricopa, right? So they're going to come on up into, which is in I don't want to say uncertain times, but maybe times that are a little bit more turbulent than in past. A lot of people don't want to go too far from their home, and we're a perfect location and destination for the valley to come visit us, spend their money, and then head back home. And that's both Globe, that's Payson, that's Strawberry, that's Pine, Star Valley. There's just a lot of opportunity, and especially, like I said, I haven't been to your downtown before. And when I drove through there, Darren and I were
We're
both
just like,
blown away. This is a place people will want to go. It's just, how do you package it? How do you show it? How do you showcase it? What kind of events are happening in the downtown? It's very attractive. And this is coming from a place that, from the city of Page, where we had 5.5 million, 6 million international visitation, when Glen Canyon National Recreation Area beat the Grand Canyon in total visitation in 23. So, Darren and I both, I think, have an eye for these kinds of places, and Globe has the bones to be a tourist destination.
yeah,
They're building 2 motels right now in Payson.
yep.
La Quinta, and then the Whitings are building.
They got the dirt moving.
And I just saw in the
Certificates done.
paper, a 4-story,
Yeah.
are those, that's housing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, over at the Blockbuster property?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Payson is growing,
Yeah.
and
And there's
the
a development behind Walmart.
development behind Walmart,
Another housing development.
Discount
No.
Tire,
Yeah.
Discount Tire is gonna be building.
A
There's,
new Circle K.
where's that?
That's going to be going into Walmart. That piece of ground on your right.
Oh, the mountain,
Yeah.
that's gonna be an expensive dig right there.
That's gonna be an expensive dig, but we're way off topic here on your agenda, sorry.
But so
they're
Payson is
leasing-
growing, Payson is
Yeah.
growing, and so that's kind of what I was,
So we just want to thank you. We appreciate it. We just wanted to reach our hand out and say, hey, we're here.
And faces to the name.
Right. And we'll be working with your,
let's keep the conversation going. You have any more?
I don't. Just thank you very much, and thank you for thinking of Gila County and how we can better it. Because,
Yeah.
it used to be a pass-through, and we've made it a destination, and so we need to keep that going.
Keep
So
that.
thank you very much
Yeah.
for having that in mind of the future.
And I'm not sure if you saw any of our Payson commercials on the Olympics, but they were pretty well received.
Yeah.
So we're trying to drive some visitation to our county.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why we came up with Discover Gila County.
yeah.
Yeah, it helps a bunch.
And
Only thing I would say is sometime soon, Darren, I need to make an appointment with you and come visit you too.
Yeah,
there in Payson, on
yeah,
some things going
absolutely.
on around there.
you're just above us. We were going to come up and visit you, but we haven't made the time yet.
Either
The
way.
penny's still pretty shiny. We're all new yet, so that hasn't rubbed off. So everybody in the world
Good.
wants to see us.
James,
So-
you had something.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, a couple of questions on what your build out and things you're going. And I wasn't quite sure, the courts and different things like that, they were in a separate building, they were not part of the arena?
They're not part of the arena. It's a separate building that I'm calling it like the event center or fair
Okay,
grounds. It's just a big, wide open building. Currently, they put up a temporary building in Payson for the fair. It's one of those big plastic. So we've talked with them, and they're all in on it, of course.
so Mr. Humphrey, Supervisor Humphrey might want to share a little bit more, but we just recently had a high school rodeo event here in Globe. And part of that was that they needed to have two separate arenas.
Oh, for the women and the
Well,
the
not
men.
necessarily. One's a rough stock event in the rodeo arena. Another is light stock, roping and barrel racing, the things that you've depicted on your things. But have you considered that you might have to have a second arena to be able to do some of the, if there's a lot of roping events and they want to have two arenas because you go into this arena and you have two separate roping, and so you go to this arena, then you go to the other arena, and things like that.
We have not thought about that.
Well, yeah, then we
James.
could compete on who the high school rodeo is going to.
Right?
Well, we can
And,
have
you
one
know,
in the
that was
north,
huge
north
in
and one in the
Montana.
south, so.
Well, this wasn't just high school. This was like a championship event, isn't
No,
it?
no, it was high school rodeo. They have about 10 a year, and then they have the high school rodeo finals.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
This was just a high school rodeo, but we had people from all over the country.
Yeah, I came from Montana. It's big. High school rodeo is just like a basketball team.
Yeah.
And then both universities have college rodeo teams.
But it's so big for the layperson, the non-rodeo person. If you take a look at what people are streaming and watching, they're watching Yellowstone, they're watching spin-offs of Yellowstone. They're just infatuated with this type of lifestyle, and why not capture it now?
Right.
Yeah.
So what James said about second arena, he's right. You
Yeah.
know, that's, most places now, that's what they need to be there, because they're running 1,000+ teams sometimes. through
Even
those
Christmas.
roping. So,
We could be so lucky, huh?
if you had two arenas, you would be.
Yeah. I suppose we could, have a large arena and then a smaller uncovered arena, which would be a lot less expensive. Still with seating, but similar to what we have now.
And I
We've
do
got
want-
plenty of room down there.
I do want to mention that the Payson Rodeo Committee is perhaps the most powerful force that has kept the rodeo active and alive. There's over
Yep.
100 members, volunteers, and we have the oldest continuous rodeo. It's a significant thing, and they are going to see to it that it keeps going. They
Right.
are the power behind that.
And how can we support them is
This
always
will,
our mind.
this will just, make
Right.
it that much better.
Right.
All right.
We thank you so much for coming.
Mr. Chairman, one more quick.
Yes, sir.
From what the Board of Supervisors and the message they've given me is that it would be good to use the property that we own on 260 to have some sort of use. Finding the best use for that is what has eluded us, and why, as Supervisor Humphrey said, we've had a lot of discussions about it, but have not really gone anywhere, because finding that best use and purpose for that property is what has not been determined. And I believe that the Board of Supervisors is just looking for what is best for the residents
Sure.
of Gila County in all ways.
Yeah.
That's why they have indicated that they are open and willing to have that discussion for what is the best for residents of northern Gila County.
Well,
Greg's a pretty good salesman.
next time we come back, we'll have some ideas about what that could be, so we can discuss it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all your help,
Yes.
energy, coming today and everything. Good to meet you, Greg.
Nice to meet you as
Yeah.
well. You guys
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
We'll see you.
See you later, James.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, our future presenters have the option of sitting at a table or doing the stand, but it looks like Cassandra's going to take care of
I
that.
don't know if you want it. I can
Yeah, so, okay, thank you very much. We're going to revert back right now to item 2A. We understand Mr. Krebs is here. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay, all right. Thank you for coming. Item 2A is information discussion regarding an update from the Tri-City Regional Sanitary District regarding the construction contracts approved for water reclamation facility, site piping, and lift station. Thank you for coming, Mr. Krebs.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. We've had a tremendous past 4 to 6 months with progress, and I just thought it would be appropriate to let you guys know what's going on. We have been very grateful for the county's help in getting where we are, and I don't think without your support that we could be where we are today. So on behalf of Tri-City, I just want to say thank you for that. And so just a little bit of update. You have a few slides, I think, in your packets, and one is the overall district, and I don't know that I really need to go into that. I think you all understand the district as well as anyone. What we have done and gotten accomplished is we went out to bid, and we went out initially for bid for two parts. One is the part that you see there, which is the main sewer line, the treatment plant site preparation, and then the other part was basically Claypool. And the numbers that we received on this area seemed okay. The numbers we got from Claypool seemed ridiculous, extremely high. And so what we ended up doing after we talked with a number of contractors, we ended up breaking it up into basins. And that whole area is about nine different drainage basins. And so we put that out to bid in those different parts. And the difference in the numbers were 20 to 25 million lower. So it was really a good, a good process for us to go through that. We had much more activity. We only received one bid on the one clay pool, the big one, and we received 4 on each of the other packages, 3 to 4. So it was very good. So this contract here has been awarded. KE&G is the awarded contractor, and we are working with them to get through submittals and get them started on the site work, as well as getting the main sewer line in. They're going to be boring under US 60, a directional bore, and 2 bores on 188 for the pipelines to run. We're working with ADOT on that as well, and the site work will get started as well. Probably that work will start in about a month. So I think they're going to start mobilization in April, and the work will start in mid to late April. And so the other part of that is that the treatment plant itself will be delivered in June. So the idea is that that site will be ready to accept that facility and set in place, and we'll get all hooked up and ready to go. And so then the line also has to be put in there. So trying to think of what else on this part. I don't know if there's any questions on this one, and then I'll jump to Claypool area.
Yeah, just also, you broke down the project, but you also broke down scopes of work as well. So
Yes.
one contractor wasn't looking at the whole project.
Correct.
To have a lot of subcontracts under him.
Correct.
So you broke it down, so they were looking at like the main plumbing, and then the plumbing from there to the homes.
To the
And you
homes.
broke the scopes of work
Yes.
down as well.
Yes.
Which helped organizing and getting more people to bid, because they weren't big enough for the whole project. But,
Correct.
and then that way they could subcontract with more local contractors and
Yes.
things of that nature. Yeah, I was
Yes,
in on
yes.
those conversations, which was a good deal, so thank you.
Yes, yes. So that's a good segue into the Claypool area. So you can see the 9 different drainage basins, and we broke that down into 3 different bids. Basins 1, 2, and 9, basins 3, 4, and 5, and basins 6, 7, and 8. Those were the 3 different bids for the collection system. Then we also really worked with a couple of as many local plumbers that we could get interested in making the house connections. And so we received a couple of bids from them as well, and we will actually have to, we'll go out to rebid for those very soon here. But in this package here, a company out of Utah actually was low by kind of significant numbers on most of these, what you see here, 1, 2, and 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And what we awarded, and again, the main funding is coming from USDA RD, United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development. And we were able to award basins 1, 2, and 9, and 3, 4, and 5. And I'll show you the funding. I think you have that information in your package. So they are going to get started on this. The Basin 1 is really all the railroad. There's a lot of work in Arizona Eastern We've been working closely with them. We're working closely with all the utilities, the water company, the gas company. So everybody, you know, I'd like to say it's going to take a village to get this project done. And so we've been working with all of those different entities. Basin 6, 7, and 9 has yet to be funded. And just to show you the, could you open up that last one, please? Yes, yes, yes. So what you see there in front of you now is really kind of a breakdown of the numbers. And what you see in red are the 2 basins that have not been awarded. And they were not awarded because the funding, as we're working with USDA, there were some parameters that they needed to work around, and they're like, we need to wait to award these 2 packages, which is about $9 million without contingencies and anything like that. So, and then the other area, Phase 1 North, is the part basically along 188 that's south of where we cross the 188 and go north, and Mineral Lane and up in that residential area and all those connections. So it's from Mineral Lane basically down to Electric Drive. And then it also includes a Phase 2 lift station, which will help us get Phase 2 kind of jump started. And so the funding that we had or have is about 60 million. So that allows us to award a lot of the house connections, everything but that Basin 6, 7, and 8. And the collections, that's the collection system and the residential connections. So the residential connections, as a reminder, is part of the scope of this work to be completed. And since the project is in a Colonia area, that is all paid by grant funding, Colonia funding. So.
And not charged to the project for the people to have to
correct.
repay the grant.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a big misunderstanding, is they're
Yes.
gonna charge people millions of dollars to hook up to the house. No,
No.
it has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with that, correct.
Right.
Correct. So, and since we put all this together, we have, if you look, could you scroll up a little bit more to show the funding? So you can see the other way, scroll down, sorry. So here's a summary of all of our funding. And we have, the original package was 28 million from USDA. We obtained another 9 million from USDA. And then WIFA's been great, working with them. The EPA 1 and 2, the emerging contaminants, we were able to obtain those, as well as water conservation grant funding of 3 million. EDA, we've worked with EDA, which is U.S. government, Economic Development Administration. There was a CDS, or yes, Congressional Discretionary Spending. We didn't show it in there because we didn't have it at the time. And so the total amount, that's where the 60 million comes from, of funding to do the work. And with that, there's a $2.5 million contingency. So since then, we have received 2.85 million with congressional discretionary spending.
That's not on here.
That's not on the list. That's correct. And we've submitted for some others, and the district is actively looking at any and all funding that we can get our hands on. As you may know, the funding environment has completely changed in DC. And it used to be, for example, it used to be that USDA would obtain nationwide $400 to $500 million of grant funding. Today, they've only received this year 95 million. So it's like 20% of what they're used to. And I think a lot of that money's gone to the congressional direct spending funding. So I think it hurts rural communities, but there are people smarter than me back there, so I'm not going to worry about that.
I Characterizes as smarter, but yeah, the climate's always changing, isn't it?
It's always changing, yes, sir. So, so we have, we're having a groundbreaking next Monday. Everyone's invited. Love to have you join us. It's at 10 o'clock at the treatment plant site. So if you don't know where that is you're going north on 188, and right before you cross the railroad tracks, turn left. That's where it is. So that site. So love to have you there. We're thrilled to get this thing started. Personally, I'm still not believing until I start seeing some backhoes out there and some work really getting done. So got involved with this project in July of 2012. So it's been a lifetime. So, but it's been great. It's been a blessing. And again, I just want to say thank you to Gila County and all your staff and everybody has been so great to work with. So, any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I have no questions. I've been in this project for 9 years. When I first showed up at the board meeting, they said I was the first elected official they'd seen. And I couldn't understand why, for the benefit of the community and District 2. We have a lot of cesspools that have failed. You can drive around and see vacant properties. And as you see the water shortage continue, being able to capture all of this water that's just going in, soaking into the ground, hopefully not in too many aquifers, but to be able to recap that water that's just going into cesspools or septic tanks and be a commodity back to the copper mines that use an awful lot of water for their mining, then they're not having their straws and aquifers that we need for other purposes. This reclaimed water is going to be amazing.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's something that I've been to a lot of meetings. I've been helping getting the areas set up for Globe Miami and Tri-City. It's been one of my main pushes, and so I'm like you. I'm happy to see it finally here, because I ran on blight and infrastructure, and I didn't know it was going to be 9 years. But it's great to see this getting started for the benefit that it'll be to the community. And I hope as it gets started and progresses, I know there's been a lot of difficulties with the town of Miami, but Globe's been pretty supportive. I hope as we go forward in different phases, because Globe has annexed property that they can't serve. And so hopefully Tri-City can do an IGA with the city of Globe.
It's already done.
To pick up, a lot of those places, because there's restaurants and things on cesspools, on septic tanks that can be hooked to sewer, and hopefully the town of Miami can come in too, because they have their own system, but they passed a lot of residential areas that I hope maybe at some point in time that can be resolved to help parts of Miami residents that could be served as well. So yeah, it's been a long ride, but I'm very glad to see this at where it's at. And as far as funding, I think once it gets started and there's progress, I think funding will follow, because they've outlawed cesspools, so they're going to have to help us with funding to be able to do that for our constituents. So thank you very much for have taken a hold of this project as you have. And as far as I'm concerned, as a supervisor, I'll help in any way that I can as it goes forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Mike, thank you
Thank
for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I just was going to ask on all this funding, do you have match money that you have to pay on that?
Some of that is match money, and it's coming from the USDA loan is being utilized.
Okay. And so being a district, you collect money through taxation, but you're able to handle that?
Yes.
Yeah, the match
there's-
money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Tell me again, please, the grand opening or the opening date of the,
It's the 30th, next Monday at 10 o'clock.
at 10. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
It's good to hear. All right. I think that's all we have. Okay. Thank you. And our next item is 2C, information discussion to consider the adoption of a code of conduct policy regarding all county-owned property. Michael, come and tell us all about that.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. So, as we increase the amount of events out at our fairgrounds, one of the issues we have seen staff has dealt with is the increase of residents and visitors treating staff poorly, bringing alcohol onto the premises, and doing all sorts of things that are sort of putting our employees at risk in dealing with this. And we're seeing an increased call to law enforcement to come out to engage with some of this poor behavior. And if you recall, a couple of years ago, we had a situation out at the fairgrounds, and in consulting with the county attorney and the board of supervisors with that issue, it was determined by the county attorney that we really don't have a policy to fall back onto if we have poor conduct by residents, visitors, or even county staff to handle some of these situations. So the recommendation was to come up with a draft code of conduct and present it to the board for their input and direction on that before we move into the next stage of possibly finalizing a draft. And so the purpose of this code of conduct is several counties out there have very similar code of conducts, is to try and provide a safe area for residents and visitors and staff at all county properties. At first, we were talking about having a code of conduct just for the fairgrounds, and then at the recommendation of the county attorney, they said, why don't you expand it to all of our properties? Because we expect that behavior at all of our properties. And we have had in past situations, people show up to other properties in Payson at community development or public works, and we've had to deal with some poor behavior out there. And then when I reached out to the other department directors, they also let me know some of the behavioral issues they've been dealing with, especially at the landfills. There seems to be some behavior at the landfills that need to be addressed, such as people letting their children and pets, letting them loose while they're waiting in line to put the trash into the landfill, smoking of marijuana, drinking while they're waiting in line, all sorts of behaviors that I was unaware of that were happening. So, so this particular work session is just to get your thoughts and input into a code of conduct policy. I did want to mention at least one item on this code of conduct policy we haven't really finalized or really worked on that hard with, is the county attorney. We have to make sure that the rights of the individuals, of the visitors, of the residents are adhered to. So we're thinking of possibly running this through the hearing officer that we currently have to provide a hearing if people want to come in front of the board and say that they've been unduly prosecuted for this code of conduct. So we're considering putting it through the hearing officer and then having the final decision possibly in front of the board if they want to continue it that way. So the full board would make that decision once we present the evidence of any kind of unduly behavior. So I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, and really what I'm here for is just to hear your thoughts on this code of conduct policy and go from there.
Thank you, Michael. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I do believe we need one for our properties, so that there's definitely rules that people need to follow to use our facilities and property. I thought you talk about the hearing officer, I think that's fine, but, when I read through it, the first offense, the second offense, the third offense, the fourth offense, it's like, I think you have been very lenient with the people, you know, for like a fair or things of that nature. Okay, they got a warning, but after your fourth warning, it's like, come on, we really need to change this behavior. So I think in this particular one, you've been more than fair with someone who might not appreciate or take care of our facilities as they should, or help us take care of those facilities. So I think it's a good idea, and again, if we load more on our hearing officer, I'd like to have two, you know, because now we just keep coming up with things, and now from, you know, building to blight to, you know, now the short-term rentals, and so, you know, code of conduct and things. It's like, I don't want to overload our hearing officer to the point that people are not going before him for 8 months because there's so much backup because we only have one. But I think it's necessary that we have one. I read through it. I don't see any problems with it. And like I say, you know, they're able to cross the line 3 or 4 times before, you know, it gets real serious for them. So I think it was well done. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Michael, I have not read through that draft yet, but when I do, I'll get back with you on it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have. I got some red ink on it. So I think it's okay to have a code of conduct or some recommendations on guidelines, okay? And I think it should be countywide and all of that, but there is different applications, like if you're in the RV or you're camping or you're versus saying being in a building or something else. I think there might be some differences. So what I struggled with, and I can imagine you developed this by observing other code of conduct from other counties or something like that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, cut and paste. I get it. So here's what I'm worried about. So on the very bottom of the first page, it says aggressive intimidation or harassment of patrons. And so that sounds, yeah, okay, but what is aggressive intimidation? If you wear a Trump hat, is that aggressive intimidation? Okay? Some people are going to be offended by that. We have a culture right now, a society that just loves to be offended by everything. And if they feel like that, oh, you know, that's a message to me that that you're gonna stab me, or you're gonna, you know, and I feel threatened by it, you know. So we got to be careful how we word some of this. If people are sitting around on one of our properties and they have a political or religious discussion and someone's offended by that, how does that come into that? How much of this is subjective? So there's a difference to me between being aggressive and just being, I'm not happy about this, or this is, and I'm impolite. I'm dissatisfied with what you told me, and I don't agree with it, and I'm going to argue with you about it a little bit. So is that aggressive? Is that intimidating? Is that a violation? Because what we're trying to do then is control speech. And I think it's okay that we have someone that goes to community development perhaps and says, I don't understand what you're asking me. I don't agree with it. I think that you're wrong. Well, is that something that we're going to call the sheriff's department on? I don't think so. So we have to make sure that our code of conduct doesn't include just someone that might be having a bad day and hasn't crossed over into the violent, you know, thing like that. And then this other one on page 2, fourth down, says possessing or consuming alcohol. Now, there's a difference between possessing and consuming. So someone goes to court, they're part of the jury, they got a bottle of wine in the back seat of their car. They're not consuming it, but they've just violated our code of conduct by possessing it. So I kind of think about that. The next one is possessing weapons. And I hate the word weapon. Weapon is something, is a type of usage of something. Possessing weapons or other items designed or intended to injure or harm people. Would that be like bazookas, grenades, tanks, missiles? Those are the kind of things that are intent on harming individuals. So what are you actually saying? What is the item that you're talking about? Possessing a weapon. You're going to say, oh, well, that's a firearm. Well, a firearm is not a weapon unless it's used that way, okay? Is it a baseball bat? Is it a knife? Is it nunchucks? Is it brass knuckles? What is it? So that's a hard one. And then it says at the end, unless explicitly permitted by law. Like the Second Amendment, I'm not sure what that means, explicitly permitted by law. Okay, that's very vague. And the next one is dropping off or leaving children unattended. So I don't know what dropping off means. Does that mean dropping them off to a friend, to a family member? You're going somewhere, you're dropping them off to watch the rodeo, you know? Or are you leaving them unattended? Those are two different things, okay? And then you need to read through this thing.
You're doing a good job.
Okay. Engaging in conduct or using profane language, abusive language. That needs to be better defined because that, like I said, is very subjective. Here, speaking or engaging in other express activities that is objectionable under community standards. Okay? So what you're saying is under the cultural norm, you're speaking or engaging in an activity that is objectionable to the cultural hive, objectionable to the liberals, objectionable to the conservatives, objectionable to the people that are on The View. What are we talking about, objectionable? Because there's no way to define that. Someone is going to be offended by what you say. And so that's basically saying you can't do anything that might offend someone else. I think that's really hard to have in this. And down at the bottom of page 2, I think that whole list down there, 6 of them, that's okay. That defines exactly what we're talking about. There's 6 bullet items that are just simple, to the point, and egregious. And the next page, the last page down at the bottom, there's 2 bullet points. Those I think are okay. You're harassing, you're violating, you're committing crimes, you're being physically, verbally, or sexually inappropriate. That should be really the core of the conduct, I think. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you for doing this, first of all, and presenting it. We're just trying to fine tune it.
No, I appreciate it, Chairman. Yeah, these are excellent points.
Okay.
And we'll certainly go back and do a lot more clarifying and editing of this and do another work session on this in the near future.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
thank
think
you very
everyone
much
has
for
different sensitivities of what
Yeah.
they're offended by.
Yeah.
And you never know. Sometimes you'll be talking to somebody or you'll whatever, and they're offended or they feel intimidated. You have no idea you're doing that.
That is true.
Because it's not really that overt. It's just someone is offended because of their personality, their viewpoints, their fears, whatever. And that's really hard to regulate.
No, thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate the input.
I appreciate that. So any more discussion on this one?
Good job.
Good, okay. Well, thanks.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. I probably exceeded the code of conduct right there somewhere. Well, good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Chairman.
I think you're anticipating moving on to item 2D.
Yes, please.
Information discussion regarding potential flood recovery projects and financial resources. So we have Christine, you're going to start things off, then we'll have Homero and Tom here as well.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting on March 17th, we were pleased to let you know that we had received information from the NRCS that we had, finally our funds were approved. As you know, we have been trying to work consistently timely, if anything, as quickly as we can to continue to make these projects come to fruition. So today, really what we're really trying to focus on and to engage in with you is we're at a critical point. Our 220 days are underway. Our goal today is to go over the projects a little bit more, about lessons learned from last time, what we're doing differently, who's our team members, and so we can answer your questions today, and hopefully you can answer any constituent questions that you receive. So before we go much further, I'm going to ask everybody from our team just to stand really quick, and we'll just do a quick introduction. So I'm going to start with you two. Come on. Come on, everybody. You're here for a reason today. Mick. Wow. Sorry. So this is our team. And I'd like to recognize them because we are here today in very good shape to be able to deliver these projects. Everybody's been conscientious, they've been diligent, and I can't say anything more other than high praises for what this team is bringing to the county.
Thank you.
And they'll be introduced a little bit later.
Okay.
So thank you all. And Maren too, even though she didn't stand. So really, we are again at this critical point. We need to deliver these projects. There's lots of little nuances like monsoons and different aspects that this team is aware of, and they are working into the plan to try to prevent any surprises and to minimize any unknowns that we're running into. So with that, Homero and Tom are going to go into the details of this team effort, and we have the whole team here if you have specific questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Good morning.
Morning,
Chairman,
Homero.
board members. Happy to be here again. Thank you. So we're gonna be looking at some things that you've seen before and some new things. So I'm gonna move over to kind of like a table of contents on today's topics for the work session. We're gonna look at the NRCS projects and the source of funding and the project list. We're going to look at the FEMA-DEMA projects as well. There's been some changes there where we've added new items and we found alternate solutions for some of our other projects. We're going to also have one slide on the cash flow. What impact does this recovery effort have for the county need for cash? And we're going to talk about the NRCS project. We're actually going to, any new project and the NRCS projects, we're going to have a slide for you. Some of the old FEMA projects, we don't have a slide for you, but on the NRCS projects, the focus is going to be what are we doing differently and how are we going to accomplish what we need to accomplish in the 220-day period. And of course, at the end, hopefully we have time for some discussion and input from the board as we proceed forward. I'm going to get started with the NRCS. This is a summary of the work we're doing with NRCS. And like I said, we're going to be looking at slides for each of the projects later on. The very top line says NRCS funding approved March 16th. And the amount of funding that was approved is very significant. It's actually $26.5 million of funding that NRCS is bringing to Gila County and say, here, do something with these, some of these permanent projects that you're envisioning that you can do. For the most part, these projects keep our roads open. We've already lost Russell Road. Well, 6-shooter, Ice House, Copper Hills, Ice House Canyon, some of these roads and some of these crossings are subject to future failure. And the funding that we received allows us to make them more durable and to stabilize the roads. Some of these roads are very important. In some cases, they offer the one and only way of coming in or the only way that you can come in with a regular vehicle. So we've got some, I think, very important projects on the NRCS list. But I wanted to just thank NRCS for the partnership that they have brought to the table for us. They have guided us through the application process, and they have offered to partner with us the rest of the way as well. And later on, you're going to see a slide, and that's something that's maybe a little different. Maybe we didn't appreciate it the first time, or maybe we didn't capitalize on it the first time. But this time, we're leaning on NRCS to help us make the project. And we do have a couple of folks from NRCS, right, Mick? And you have someone else with you, Mick?
Just me?
Okay, so Mick Lane has guided us the first time and actually the second time. And actually, he's not only done this for Gila County, but he's done this for Globe, Miami, and San Carlos Tribe as well. And so I think NRCS has really done a lot of good stuff for Gila County. But anyway, the green highlight that you see is the project costs for the various projects. You can see that flood warning's got a line through the middle. It was not funded. That was the only thing that was not funded, okay? Everything else was funded. And you see the levels of funding for each of those. The construction cost from an NRCS standpoint of what they're eligible to consider as a project, with the hospital wall is $29.8 million. And if you go across that line where it says total NRCS construction cost with hospital wall, you look at the NRCS share is a little over 22 million. The county share is 7.4. By the way, we're doing something to those roads that aren't eligible for NRCS funding, but we need to make these improvements in order to proceed with the project. So we're spending another $1 million of our money, HERF money, or some other money, it comes from the county, to make these improvements, okay? And so if you were to ask, well, how much is the county really gonna spend? Well, it's those two numbers. Plus, later on in the blue highlight, you see engineering cost. Well, NRCS, we asked for the construction cost that you see up on the green highlight. We didn't actually ask for engineering funding. We talked about that we could get some and that we may get some, but actually NRCS has brought $4 million to the table to pay for engineering costs and project administration for all of these projects, okay? And if you follow the blue line across, we've actually already spent $500,000 on engineering. Well, we'll have spent $500,000. We have a contract with J.E. Fuller early on to get them started. We offered them a contract for $500,000 to get started, and that's mostly spent. So the NRCS funding is going to come in and help us now pay for any future engineering costs going forward, and perhaps even going backwards. We haven't gotten to that yet, but normally the administrative cost from an engineering company to manage a project after design is typical. It varies. Typical is like 10%. Okay, so it's not an insignificant cost. It's a significant cost. So, Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yes, the 500,000. Where does that money come from?
That money is part of our recovery effort. It's been paid for and is being paid for as we get invoices from funding that is available to the county at this point in time.
Through ARPA, you say, or no?
No, it's
It's
right
just
now
our-
that 500,000 was funded by Gila County,
Okay, not HERF.
not HERF.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Later on, the county will decide, is it HERF money or is it recovery money or what happens? But this, I'm just trying to present the recovery cost for Gila County and the cash that we would need to pay for these recovery costs. So I've included 500,000 that's already mostly been spent and partly invoiced, because it is a cost that we incurred because of the storms. We wouldn't have gone to J.E. Fuller and do these things without the storms happening. So it's part of our recovery cost. And that's a good question, because as you'll see the cost, you'll see we've done some things, we've already paid for them. Why am I including that and sharing that with you? It's because I'm trying to capture the recovery cost to the best of our ability, okay? So the total county share without the hospital wall is the very bottom yellow box. It's $8.7 million, a little over $8.7 million, $8,767,407. That's money that comes out of our pocket. one way or another. Whether it's with a recovery cost fund that's set aside by the county, that it comes from somewhere in the county. And in return, we get from NRCS $26.5 million, including the hospital, okay? 25.7 for just the county. So I go back to the top line. It's great news. It's exciting to receive money. And up there it says approved March 16th. The next line, it's also a challenge to spend money wisely and quickly in the time frame that we have. So we've got two things here. One, it's kind of exciting to get it. Now the work starts. The completion date is October 22nd of this year. So Tom will be sharing the slides on NRCS and what are we doing different. And one of the things that we're doing different, we got partners sitting at the table with us that have a full commitment, whether it's J.E. Fuller or Tiffany Construction or NRCS. It's a partnership that meets every week and talks about how we're going to get this done, because that's the end solution for us. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you before you're done, Homero. Thanks for that presentation. March 16th, the clock started. Are we, this is a work session, so you're giving us information. Is there an action that the board needs to do to start this process, or have we already started?
It's already started.
Okay, I can't remember if we actually approved, but we have.
We have approved, first of all, the funding to get J.E. Fuller, this is many months ago. Just recently, the chairman, yourself, approved a CMAR contract with Tiffany Construction that gets them to the table and they start talking cost and time. And later on, we'll have a guaranteed maximum price. They're gonna, in the slides, you're gonna see something about the guaranteed maximum price. It's at that time that we'll come back and the staff agrees that that's a reasonable cost, working with J.E. Fuller, of course. We agree that that's a reasonable cost. We'll bring it to the board for approval. And at that time, we kick off. One of the things that's different, and I'm jumping ahead and taking something away from one of the slides that Tom has, is right now we're working concurrently with the contractor is here at the table and the design is being completed. Somewhere along the way, the design will be 90% complete, and even without it being 100% complete, some construction will start. That is already part of that drawing. That's already, not everything on the drawing is done, but there's things that the contractor can do. We'll get the guaranteed maximum price, and the minute that's settled, they can start working even if the drawing is not 100% complete. So there's going to be an overlap between design and construction that we had never really visualized before, and that's one of the things that changes, trying to keep it down to 220 days.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I do believe that this is from the state of emergency. So I believe as these projects go forward, if they have any questions or need approval of anything going forward, that the chairman can do it without a full board because it's under the state of emergency. So as they go forward, if they need a board decision in a state of emergency, you can make that decision. We don't.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, I've been signing papers, so.
Yeah, and that's why, because it doesn't, state of emergency, you're the boss.
Oh.
So we'll take
Mr.
Supervisor Humphrey and, no, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, what Supervisor Humphrey pointed out, that we are under a Board of Supervisors declared state of emergency, that we have signed numerous contracts. All of these contracts are going to come back to the board, that they will be ratified by the entirety of the board at a point in the future. So we'll need to remember that as we go forward, that we're, in order to ensure to the greatest extent possible we can get through this 220 days, that it's essential that we have that state of emergency, that we can get these contracts signed as soon as possible, within a day instead of 2 or 3 weeks that it would take to get through the Board of Supervisors as a whole. So thank you for that and pointing that out, Supervisor Humphrey. That's critical for our success. Do want to point out the $500,000, that's essentially general fund dollars from the county that are covering that. A few weeks ago, you as a Board of Supervisors, when Mark Reeder was here, approved a declaration or approved us going forward potentially with funding, with financing through a bond type of financing. And at that point, we could go back a certain length of time, like 60 days, and any expenses we've had through 60 days could potentially be included in that bond. And so that will help to cover our cash flow and help us with those things, that we don't drain our general fund cash reserves so much that it damages our ability to operate. So that is in 2 weeks. Mr. Reed will be back before you as Board of Supervisors to make the decision, are we going to go to bond or not? So that's in 2 weeks. It's been proposed up to $18.32 or $3 million for you to consider of financing. And again, built into that is, what if we don't use the full 18 million? Well, we can pay that back and buy down the debt. It's flexible that we can, of our payments, particularly up front as we're trying to maneuver through this and our cash flow and those types of things. A lot of flexibility that you typically don't see built into debt financings, but because of the uncertainties and the things that we are working through, it's essential we have that flexibility. So those two things I wanted to point out, the emergency, Supervisor Humphrey, thank you, and the debt and where the source of money is coming from currently and where it potentially will come from in the future should you decide to elect that bond debt financing.
Thank you, Chair. Homer, when we look at this 8.7 million for the county's cost share on this, that's total for all these projects? That's
For
it?
NRCS.
For NRCS.
We're gonna talk about FEMA next.
Okay.
And so 8.7 for NRCS, our share. NRCS brings to the table 26.5 million. We should celebrate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get it done in that time frame. So we'll celebrate when we get it done, okay? So now I would like to move to the FEMA slide. The darker blue that you see up there are items that you've seen before. The lighter blue are new items. And then some items that were presented previously were not shown because we found alternate solutions. And so the following slide will bring those to your attention for your input, okay? So the very first top line is called project number 1, emergency protective measures. I think I told you last time, that stuff, our effort that we undertook at the time of responding to the emergency, our road yard folks, our equipment that was used for that, if we hired a contractor. We have kind of like an invoice that we're submitting this week to FEMA for $150,000 of that $400,000. And as we gather the remaining numbers from the October storm, we'll submit something similar. We may not get to 400,000. That was just an estimate on our part. Some of the things that we thought were going to be included now are excluded. For instance, we thought we were going to be able to recover the operator time for operating the equipment. FEMA told us no, only the overtime. So maybe this number was once upon a time inflated beyond what FEMA would pay, but we're ready to submit $150,000 to them. They call it a limo to recover most of the September storm activities that we had, and then after we submit that one, we'll turn our attention to submit a similar one for October. The second project is called debris management and testing. We actually issued a contract, and our chairman signed that under the emergency procedure for $185,000 of testing, and to include a report at the end of the test analyzing the information and telling us how we would be addressing all the different FEMA projects that we had anticipated. At that time, it was Kellner Pit, it was Russell Gulch sediment removal, it was the sediment piles that are at the landfill, and it was the debris piles. So we actually tested all of that. We've learned a lot from that, and that actually enables us to think of alternate solutions for some of these things that I just mentioned right now. And on the next slide, you'll see some of the alternate solutions, because you don't see Kellner Pit on here as a for instance, and you don't see the sediment piles on this slide. They're on the next slide. We found a better, different way to do it, okay? And so the things that, and so we mostly spent that money. They're invoicing us right now. We're turning to the county. They pay for it, and again, it's part of the recovery cost. Without the testing, we really wouldn't know what to do with some of these sediment piles. If you take a sediment pile to the landfill or to the Forest Service under the Good Neighbor Agreement that we have with Kellner Pit, it needs to be tested. And it needs to meet the requirements, either of the ADEQ requirements for a landfill or the requirements of the Forest Service. So basically, at the beginning, at the end of the storms, we had no choice but to do some testing. And that's what we've done. And again, it enables us to now plan the work and continue forward. And one of the things, so the next item is the household debris removal. So what we learned from the testing was that we have some asbestos in that debris, that household debris, that is again at the landfill. It needs to be moved out. It's there under a temporary basis authorized by ADEQ. We want to haul it to not our landfill because it's at capacity, but we want to haul it to Apache Junction. And we've learned that it's not, we shouldn't treat it all as asbestos containing material, that actually we can lower the cost by sorting it and putting to the side what we think is, what we suspect is asbestos containing, and shipping the rest as just normal debris at a lower tipping fee at Apache Junction Republic Service landfill. So that's what the project is right now. We're getting ready to issue a contract to Safeware in the next, I'm gonna say 7 days or sooner, to do this work, the debris removal, the household debris removal, okay? The next item is Russell Gulch Flex Mat debris removal. Once upon it, that's colored a little lighter in blue because we've changed that. At one time, we were gonna take 12,000 tons of that sediment and deposit it at Kellner Pit. So on the next slide, you'll see why we're not doing that. But one of the reasons that we don't have to remove 12,000 tons is as the design progressed on the NRCS project to restore Russell Gulch, they felt that they could repurpose the bulk of that sediment, and so therefore it doesn't have to be moved. It's gonna be reused there in that same project, okay? A part of it is bank, building up some of the banks, as a for instance. But they're gonna repurpose most of that sediment. So we're not moving sediment anymore out of Russell Gulch under FEMA. The sediment will get repurposed under NRCS on the Russell Gulch Restoration Project that you're gonna hear about from Tom. So that reduced the cost significantly. And now we're just looking at removing all Fleximat debris from what's on the banks. Some of it is on Cecil Trucking. Another one is at another lot that belongs to one of our local mines. And then we have 17 or 18 pieces or remnants of that Fleximat that's in the channel itself. So that'll get removed and again will be sent to Apache Junction to not use up our landfill space. And the estimated cost for that is $450,000. In this particular slide, I'm using the 25% local share. As you know, there is no federal declaration at this time. FEMA keeps saying that they're gonna come visit us and then canceling. They've done that twice. This is on October 31st, they're gonna be here. And really, FEMA's gonna come down looking for who else can help you fund these projects or how else can you fund these projects. In a way, we kind of like beat them to the punch because we turned to NRCS at the very beginning. Some of these projects that we have with NRCS could potentially have been FEMA projects, but in the FEMA world, when I talk that we're submitting these projects to FEMA, we've talked to FEMA repeatedly and DEMA, the local Arizona group, and nobody will put in writing that this project is approved. You work on the basis that it's an eligible project based on what you read and all the documentation that you can read. You present it to DEMA, and the time that the rubber meets the road and what you get reimbursed is when you make a submittal that says, here, I want to get paid. And so we may or may not get paid 100% for some of these projects. They'll find things that they can take off. But if we can either wait and do nothing or do something, and right now I think we need to get the two projects that I just mentioned done and move forward. And so and we don't have any objections from DEMA. There are no objections on the project that I mentioned. They've not said no. But there's nothing in writing or anything that says, yes, you will get refunded this total amount. So there's risk with FEMA.
So Homer,
Almost-
what you're saying
almost no matter what you do.
is that county share, the 25% is, it could move, it could change.
Correct.
Okay.
And we'll bring up that on a later slide as to how we're treating that from a recovery cost to the county. So the new projects are Kellner. So on the top, you see kind of like the September storm, things that happened both in September and October, okay, on the top part of the slide. On the bottom part of the slide, you see things that were impacted with the October storm. So Kellner Canyon low water crossing is one of them. It's a abutment erosion. Water flows over the top, and as it's leaving the low water crossing, it starts to erode on the edges, and now the crossing is at point of failure, okay? Imminent failure. And the important thing about Kellner, we got a slide, is that it's the only way in and out. And I'm gonna wait for the slide to cover that, but it is a very important road at this point in time for the county. And it's a low-cost project. We estimate about $200,000. We have till April 15th to tell FEMA what we want from the October storm. So we have a little bit of time, and our team will be looking at the $200,000 if it's valid or not. When we submit to FEMA on April 15th, it's in the form of an estimate. It can be higher or lower, but we need to give them a good estimate. And it's a DEMA project. October is not FEMA. DEMA is gonna pay us hopefully 75% of that project, okay? And they've seen it already. We've had several meetings with them, and this item was presented to them, and we're gonna be putting it on the October list of projects. The next item that is on the October list of projects is Cooley Ranch Road, low water crossing. Again, that's another crossing that's on the point of failure, okay? And we're gonna see a slide on it that explains that. And so the bottom line for FEMA projects is $2.4 million. And that includes the permanent projects at the bottom. That includes the protective measures that I mentioned at the top. There's not gonna be any future cash flow. We've already spent it. The debris management has been spent anyway. The summation of all of those is $2.4 million. The county share is $611. And the FEMA DEMA, if at the 75% rate, is $1.8 million. Okay, so we'll move on to what happened to Kellner Pit and what happened to the sediment piles. And so we've got, when we look at the way that FEMA requires you to move debris and sediment, I'm not talking about the permanent projects, okay? I'm talking about when you have to remove debris and sediment. You need to know when it was collected, who collected it, where they collected it, and that you have to show them the documentation, how you transported it and where you put it, and there is a lot of monitoring that takes place. As part of the projects, we were actually gonna hire a company to do the monitoring for us and record and provide a package that says, here's what happened for this project, so that it would be audit proof, okay? And so the cost that you see here includes that. But what I'm trying to point out is that debris hauling is a very expensive item within the FEMA project types. There's been no declaration. The things that drive us to think of alternate solutions, there's been no declaration. We found out that most of the material doesn't have hazards. All of the material in Russell Gulch is very clean, no hazards whatsoever. Kellner Pit, the same thing. No heavy metals, no hydrocarbons, no volatiles, no E. coli, no asbestos. It's clean material for the most part. The sediment pile has E. coli, but we can treat it. We can treat it with chlorine if we want to, and we even talked to DEMA with all of the facts that we gathered from the sediment, from the testing, and they are okay if we just leave it alone. E. coli dies in the absence of oxygen, and if we leave it alone, they would be okay with it, to leave that pile where it's at, okay? It is, FEMA debris removal, like I said, requires extensive documentation, and so those are the things that drove us to do these things. The sediment pile, we would like to leave them where they're at. There's 2 piles out there, okay? one the October storm pile, one the September storm pile. They're on a lot that's owned by the county. It is a multi-acre lot, but a floodplain goes through the middle. And so we only have a portion of that lot that we can use for like a material yard, if you will. If you look at the aerials, going through the history of aerials for that lot, you'll see once upon a time it had big rocks in it, like riprap. Then the riprap disappeared, and then they had more gravel material, and that disappeared. So that lot is big enough to that we can put either sediment, future sediment, or the road yards, if we instruct them on start from the back and come to the front, they can use that as a material yard. They can use it as is appropriate for the county to use, and we could even fill it all up in a future storm and put sediment in there and know that we're gonna put it in there clean sediment, not anything with household debris, because then you invite the notion of it having asbestos, but anything that's clean or with some small vegetative debris could end up in that yard in a future storm. But we can continue to use it over time. So the idea is to leave it alone and just leave it there and continue to use that particular lot as a material yard. The other item is Kellner Pit. Well, if we're not bringing any more material to Kellner Pit, why spend $500,000 to restore it the way that FEMA requires? We already have an agreement with the Good Neighbor Forest Service. Let's just satisfy the agreement that we have with the Forest Service, and that is level it off and reseed it. That's 1 acre lot. To reseed a 1 acre lot, you're talking about $10,000, $20,000. Our local share is more than that. And what we talked to the Forest Service, and they're okay with us doing that, not putting in the Russell Gulch material in there, which we had talked to them about, but instead to allow our road yards where they're in the area, if they clean out a wash or a low water crossing, they can take it to Kellner. And over time, when we finally fill up Kellner, then we can level it off and reseed it at the time. And the Forest Service was receptive to that idea. We haven't put that on a piece of paper, but they were receptive to that. So these projects basically have found an alternate solution. And the alternate solution is we're gonna continue to use Kellner Pit as a place to take material. The sediment piles are gonna reside in that material yard instead of spending $1 million on that. And Russell Gulch sediment is gonna be repurposed, and they come off the FEMA list, okay? So from FEMA, we talk about $2.4 million in total for the projects. I'm sorry. In the FEMA slide, we talked about $2.4 million, the same number. $2.4 million for the projects that I talked about that we would do, and that takes us to one slide that wraps everything up, okay? All our costs. And so if you look across NRCS, there's a green arrow that says the county share is $8.7 million, and we need near-term cash flow of $8.7 million at a minimum. Now, we need to be responsive with our invoices. We get an invoice, we need to take it to NRCS quickly so that NRCS can reimburse us so that we don't have 2 or 3 months of invoices that we're funding. We need to move quickly on the invoicing side. The FEMA-DEMA project, you see the blue arrow, instead of going to our share, it goes to the total cost for FEMA because we don't know when they're gonna pay us, okay? And so near term, we need $2.4 million because we don't know if they're gonna pay us this year or next year. So we need $2.4 million, some of which we would get back from them, but we don't know when we're gonna get that back from them, okay? And the last line is other professional and engineering services. There's some of it is if we have to do some engineering for Cooley Ranch Road or Kellner Canyon or a little bit of contingency in here. My cost is in there somewhere, but it's mostly contingency. We may need other things that we need to hire somebody to come do to make things happen. So I used $800,000. So the cash flow for the recovery projects that we see them today stand a little over $12 million. Questions?
The 800,000 is on top of the NRCS 500,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you asked me to tell you everything that's in that 800, that's why I said it's mostly contingency. I can come up with like, we've hired some other firm to help us for $50,000 to make sure that what we're doing for FEMA is gonna be acceptable. And then there's my cost, and it's a fraction of the 800,000.
So the $12 million, Homer, is basically what we're gonna end up spending, we're needing to come up with accounting for all these projects, FEMA and DEMA included.
Correct, that's what we're putting on the table. Now, what you borrow should be more because of the invoicing, that we get an invoice from a vendor we have to pay. We submit it to NRCS, and they have a very short time payment period, I think it's 30 days, Mick? So they pay us in 30 days, but if there's an error in our invoice, we may end up with 2 months, so I'll let finance determine how much they borrow. But yes, our expectation is that's what the recovery cost is gonna be for the 2 storms.
Sounds better than 18 million.
Well, and Homero, out of that 12 million, we should receive back about 1.2 eventually.
That's correct.
Okay,
It's 1.8.
1.8. Right.
All right? And again, there's no contingency in there. But you saw that there was a high number actually for engineering costs, or a number that's comparable to what we expect to spend on the engineering side that NRCS brought to the table. It's 12 million. We may need to borrow more than that to make sure that, and again, that's a financial decision presenting recovery costs, okay? So the next slide then, I'm gonna talk about the 2 FEMA projects that are new, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Tom, and Tom's probably going like this to me, speed it up, Homer. But Coulee Ranch Road is the next slide. Could we go to the slide, next slide, then we'll come back to this one? Oh, I'm sorry. So let's look at this one. It's the big picture. Coulee Ranch Road, you see the damage on the left-hand side. It's to the apron, a concrete apron that was there. And the apron was on the downstream side of the road. And what it does, it makes sure that the turbulence as the water is leaving the road doesn't undercut into the pavement. Well, the concrete, it ate up the concrete and started to eat up the pavement, okay? And then further on the south side of the crossing, you see where the water's washed over the road, and there it did have that turbulence, and it ate and it started to undercut the pavement. So for a wide section of that low water crossing was damaged with the storm. Of course, it was a big storm. And so this is an area where the crossing is at. It's in Dripping Springs. Coulee Ranch Road is in the Dripping Springs area. The large green arrow points to the concrete apron that you can't really see because it's the floodplain is hiding it. We're going to restore that concrete apron 220 feet by 25 feet wide, and to put it back in place. In addition to that, we're going to add another 40 foot of crossing on the south side with the same kind of apron. So we're going to extend the low water crossing apron by an additional 40 feet. And then going further down where the small green arrow is at, we're going to provide bank erosion protection in the form of riprap to that section where you saw that the pavement was being undercut. The reason for doing this is it's a single automobile access to about 35 homes. The floodplain, as you can see, it's very wide in this area. You're actually looking where a detailed map ends and a flood map with very little detail next to it. This is, FEMA doesn't study all the floodplains in detail. You can see on the right-hand side that there is a floodway delineation. There was a berm up there. We looked at the berm, what to do with the berm. The berm is in the middle of a floodway essentially. And If you go back in history, verbal history, because we couldn't find anything in writing. There's no design or no board action. This is stuff that happened in the mid-90s, I think. And the first thing that I heard is that they channeled dripping springs and pushed material to the side, and that became a berm. The berm is an earthen berm. There appears to be no design associated with it. It's material that was put on there. It's on BLM land. We think that if we were to just make it back into an earthen berm, the cost would be high, $2 million, plus we really wouldn't be able to put a berm in the middle of the floodway. Actually, the berm was put in there with the ordinance already in place, the floodplain ordinance. The berm would require a no-rise certification. It really protects, it diverts water. So we're trying to figure out what does the berm do. Well, we believe it diverts water and keeps it to a narrower section of the road, and may keep it away from the helicopter path, but it does that for small storms. Because on a big storm, you're looking at the floodplain. And actually the last storm told us that that is the floodplain. It ripped through that, and we don't know if that had already been damaged by previous storms. We do know that after October, most of that berm had disappeared. So at this point in time, we don't find, we're too late to use NRCS funding, and the fact that the berm would have to be put somewhere else, can't be there, is a mitigation project from a FEMA standpoint, and is really not a public assistance project. So we wouldn't be able to submit it for FEMA. What the things that we do want to do, we want to go to the neighborhood and talk to them about how to protect their homes. Maybe they can put berms up there. At the very edge of that floodway, at the very outer edges of the floodway, the water's not really very deep. The floodway feathers out to nothing at the edge. And so there could be 2, 3 inches, 6 inches of flood depth on the lower half of the drawing here. We'd like to explain that to the folks. We'd like to talk to them about the grading and drainage permit if they wanted to build berms around their home. But at this point in time, we don't have a good solution for the berm that was washed out. We owe a visit to the neighborhood to tell them what we're doing with the road. We're gonna, actually the road gets improved, better than before. And the road is important to protect the road. And we need to go back and visit the folks about what they can do to protect their homes at this point in time. And then go from there, okay? Cooley Ranch Road, covered that one, and so we're with Kellner Canyon. Kellner Canyon Crossing. Kellner Canyon wouldn't be as important had Russell Road not got washed out. When Russell Road got washed out and with no solution in sight at this point in time, this is the only way to get in and out to the neighborhood, but more importantly, it's the only way to get to some of the transmission towers that are up on Signal Peak that provide radio transmission for all first responders here in the Globe Miami area, and provide an ability for Verizon, AT&T, and others to get up to the towers and maintain their equipment. So this Kellner Canyon crossing is very important from that standpoint. One, if we lose it, people can't get in and out. They basically cannot. Sometimes when we say it's the only way in and out, we mean by an automobile that's not four-wheel drive or a normal pickup. In this case, there's basically no way to get in or out. Okay. And so we want to not necessarily restore the crossing, but we want to add wing walls, and we want to lower it, and we want to put a concrete crossing so that the water goes over the top, but we at the same time we want to leave the 2 36-inch culverts that are in place, and the 1 18-inch culvert, we want to retain them and keep them there. We just lower the crossing a bit to encourage the water to go over the top and contain it within the width of the crossing, to keep the abutment erosion from taking place. That's a $200,000 solution versus the Cooley Ranch Road, that was a $500,000 solution, and you saw that on one of the slides. So those are the FEMA projects as we know them today. And we're gonna get started with the debris, I'm gonna call it the debris removal, the Fleximat and the household debris. Hopefully we can get a contract into Safeware Incorporated, that's who we're thinking of using, into their hands so they can get started. And we have more time on the permanent projects that I just talked about. We have till, I think, we're putting in for an extension that takes us into next year, 2027. They haven't approved the extension, but DEMA suggested that we put one in, so we did. Previously, they approved a suggestion for the emergency work. In this case, we're asking them to extend the time for Kellner Canyon and for Cooley Ranch Road, and we believe that they will do that. And we believe we have time to design and build these permanent things going forward. But things will start with the debris removal in a couple of weeks. Is our intent right now. Okay, and with that, I'll turn it over to Tom. He's going to talk about all the things that are NRCS.
Thank you, Homero.
Okay. Any questions before I leave?
I have none.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Supervisors.
Good morning, Tom.
So, where are we at? What's different this time? Well, I was here last time when we had the telegraph fire, and then we had the storms that August. And so a lot of things are different this time. It's, again, we're still working with NRCS. And I know I'm throwing out a lot of acronyms. We've done that, so let me explain. So NRCS is Natural Resources Conservation Service. They're a part of U.S. Department of Agriculture. And we are under the EWP program, so that's the Emergency Watershed Protection Program. You keep hearing the 220 days. That is the limit on the EWP program. Is we have 220 days to get everything done. So that clock has already started. It started back on the 16th. And that's really the only limit. There's no dollar limit. So we got a substantial amount of money, as we've been talking about, $27 million plus dollars. We also got some technical assistance funds, over $4 million. So that $500,000 that we keep talking about that we've already given to J.E. Fuller, as soon as the agreement is finalized with NRCS, we'll stop that $500,000. We won't charge any more to that. We may have a little bit left over. And then we can start using those technical assistance funds that NRCS gave us, just over $4 million, almost $4.1 million. And there's no match on that. That's just technical assistance funds for us to use. It's not a lump sum. You know, we submit invoices as we get J.E. Fuller and Tiffany Construction. Now that we have them on board, so we'll be able to, their charges for design services will come out of that $4.1 million. So there won't be any cost to the county on that. So that's really good news. And then, so we're using the CMARC process, construction manager at risk. I think the county's used it on a couple of other projects. I heard we used it on the animal shelter, and then we used it on the building there that we built in Payson, the Tommy Martin complex a few years ago. But construction manager at risk is, so we have a contract now with Tiffany Construction, and we have a contract with J.E. Fuller. They're working directly for us. Even though we're in design, we have Tiffany Construction on board right now helping us through the design process. So they're working hand in hand with J.E. Fuller as we design these projects. So that really is helping this whole process. So CMAR, it's been around for about 40 years, construction manager at risk. It's fairly new. But in the public, for public agencies, it's only been around since about 2005. I think Minnesota was one of the first states to try the CMAR process. But so here we are. We've decided to use it. We went out and advertised. We got Tiffany after the selection process was all done, and they are our CMAR contractor. So we are actively in design right now with Tiffany and J.E. Fuller. So let me go to the next slide. How this works. So you guys have heard all this. This is the, again, EWP, Emergency Watershed Protection Projects. So we had the flooding back in late September, early October. We have been awarded the 26.5 million through NRCS. And let me explain, you brought this up earlier, Supervisor Christensen, I think I can answer this a little bit better. Where are we at? So we have not actually entered into a formal agreement with NRCS as of right now. So if you remember back on the 16th, I got the email from Mick saying the funds have hit Arizona. They came from Washington, they hit Arizona. That started the clock, March 16th. Now, I sent you a few documents to sign, which you did, and you sent them back. I got those back to Mick at NRCS. So what we still have to do is the formal agreement. And that's when I'll come back to you and say, okay, here's the formal agreement. It's been signed by the head of NRCS here in Arizona. And we're ready for your signature, which, or we can take it to the full board, but we're still under the emergency declaration. So I believe we can just have you sign it.
No delays.
No delays, no,
Yes.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
So that will actually start their formal agreement, and we'll get the notice to proceed. And what that does is, as soon as we get that, we stop the $500,000 charges. And we come in under this technical assistance with the 4.1 million. And so the county won't incur any more design cost. So that's good news. And so what else does it say? Construction to beginning in April. That's what we're shooting for. Right now, some big challenges. We have to get the agreement in place. We have to get environmental clearances, which actually NRCS does the environmental clearances for us. So that's underway. There's biological and there's ARCI clearances. So those are underway right now. But we hope to begin construction in April. And we've got the 5 projects, and I'll go over those here in just a bit.
Okay.
So I'm getting to the projects now, and there's 5 of them. And you guys have probably heard about them, but I'll cover them a little bit. These slides are kind of all the same. First one is Copper Hills. We've got 4 locations that we're working at, 2 what we call minor locations and 2 major locations where we saw a lot of damage. And so we completed our 60%, or we will complete 60% design here in a few days. We'll have 100% design in early May. And you see the J.E. Fuller team up there. The project is installing shotcrete, a lot of riprap, some concrete drop structures, and then some asphalt repairs. And feel free to ask any questions you guys have. I'll just go through the projects pretty quick. Ice House Canyon at Albany Drive. So what we're doing there is some bridge repair, and it's really the approach and the downstream on each side of that bridge, and we're trying to protect it from future storms, basically. But again, you got the project, you got the J.E. Fuller team, and you can see their names up there, and so we'll have 60% plans March 26th. Russell Gulch, so this is one of the bigger ones. We're looking at almost 3,000 feet of Russell Gulch that we want to improve, clean it up, reshape it. Instead of Fleximat, we're going to use concrete or shotcrete line channel. That'll help improve the flow through there, get the water through a little bit better, protect the hospital, and we think that'll be a good project. The flood wall project for the hospital, we're administering that project for the hospital. It's about 930 feet long, the flood wall, and they already have their full set of plans, so we'll be working with Tiffany to get that project going here as soon as possible. 6-shooter, this is, in my mind, this is the toughest one, I think, because it's got a lot of challenges with, as we know, when we tried to do this 4 years ago, we had some opposition to cutting down a lot of those trees. We don't know if we're going to have that again or not, but we are moving forward with getting drainage easements and temporary construction easements, and actually we're having pretty good success with that, so that's I'm pretty optimistic that things will go better for us this time on that project. So this is kind of a preliminary schedule that Tiffany put together. So what another thing that we're doing differently this time is we're going to be requesting updated schedules. Like every week we want to schedule where are we at. Let's take a three-week look ahead to see where we're at. Are we going to finish when we need to? And so first thing I want to point out is that red vertical line over there is right around July 4th. And even though the 220 days ends in October, we want to be basically done by July 4th before the monsoon starts. We need to get, especially if we're down in the channel, like Six Shooter and Russell Gulch, Copper Hills, we need to have this substantial amount of work done and be out before that July 4th date. And so what you're seeing here is they've kind of listed the projects, the activities, and then start dates. So we're looking at around April 13th, and so the light green is just the 5-day work week. The gray is on Saturday and Sunday for each week. Tiffany is already committed to working 5 days a week, 7 days a week if necessary, so to meet all these deadlines. And so we're going to be talking about these at our weekly meetings every week about are we going to meet these deadlines. So that's something else we're doing that's different. I did hear that just recently San Carlos was approved for NRCS EWP funds, and I believe Miami is now approved and Globe is approved. So they will have the opportunity if they do decide, San Carlos won't, but Miami and Globe, if they want to piggyback on our CMAR contract, they can do so. And Tiffany, we've talked to Tiffany, they're already thinking about that, and they said, yeah, we can manage all these projects and still meet all the deadlines and get everything done. So next steps, moving forward with design. We got to coordinate with the CMAR, which are Tiffany, which we're doing. There may be some value engineering as we move along, especially as we get into construction. If we can do things a little better, a little less expensive and speed things up, we'll do that. Construction should begin in April, and as I mentioned, we want to be out of those washes by July 4th. And so I'll be happy to answer questions.
Okay. Tell me what CMAR stands for again.
Construction Manager at Risk.
Construction Manager?
Construction Manager at Risk.
At risk.
At risk, yes. So it kind of puts the burden on the contractor. They tell us how they're going to get this project done, how they're going to stay within budget. For each project, they'll give us a guaranteed maximum price. We'll bring that back to you guys and say this is for Russell Gulch. Here's their guaranteed maximum price. That means there shouldn't be any change orders. There shouldn't be any cost overruns. This is what the contractor says they can do it for.
So you feel they'll be able to manage the entirety of all the projects at the
Yes,
same time?
I do.
Okay. What else we have?
I'm good. Thank you, Tom.
So project management will be up to the contractor?
So project management is, we expect them to step up and do a lot of the project management. They're going to run.
And if they don't?
Well, we'll be there as well. It's a team effort. Jay Fuller will be there. We'll be there. Tiffany will be there. Tiffany's done these CMAR projects up in Coconino County, City of Flagstaff.
Okay, so we got 8 people responsible, but who's responsible?
Well, I guess I'm the most responsible.
Okay, yeah, I'm just questioning with a lot of projects going hard and fast.
Yeah.
Who's making sure the T's are crossed and the
That would
I's
be
are
me.
dotted?
You know, I'm the county engineer.
Okay,
It's my job to make sure these projects get done for the county.
okay, I appreciate that. And I know that we're fast moving. We've got a lot of things going. We've got a lot of planning done. We've got a lot of engineering. Do we have easements for these projects?
We have, so we were in six shooter last week. We had some verbal easements. We should have our firm on board this week that will actually get our drainage easements. And Steve Williams has been working on temporary construction easements. So the answer is yes, we will have the easements.
Okay,
Unless
for
the
Kellner
people
and
say
that
no.
other- Unless the people say no.
If they say no, then
Well, I know that,
we're
but
not
then
gonna
all
get it.
the engineering and all of this,
Then we gotta,
all of this busyness was for nothing.
well, we can still do sections. Let's say one person says no. I don't want you cutting my trees down. We'll skip that section. Okay, let's focus on what we can do. Because it's divided up into sections a lot.
Okay, yeah, we've just been there before and we
We've
ended
been there
up not
before.
getting anything done because we didn't have easements. And so I appreciate all of this good news, but unless we have easement, ain't none of it gonna happen.
Not on 6-shooter.
And so that's just, like I say, I'm curious of management and easements and
If
without
everybody
it,
can,
without it, none of this other means anything, so.
right. If they all came back and said no easements, then 6-shooter is
Okay, so,
not gonna happen.
okay, so, I mean, have we talked to Steve? When will we know about easements? He
So
said-
Steve's been talking, I think he's talked to every homeowner out there.
Okay, but
property owner.
we don't have anything in writing.
We don't have anything in writing.
Okay, so do we have a deadline to have something in writing, being that we've got a start date for construction?
Well, I'll have that firm on board this week, and I
Okay.
told them we want drainage easements. That's a harder one, is the drainage easement.
Okay.
Because it requires more paperwork, it's gotta be notarized, and,
Okay,
the temporary construction easements are pretty simple.
okay,
But, yeah, we're gonna start on those this week.
okay, yeah, it's a major for me.
It is, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Okay. Tom, thank you. Homero, Christine, we got a lot of challenges, a lot of people here. So, let's proceed, get this done and move through this and make it happen. So thank you very much for all that. All right, if there's nothing else, we're gonna move on to call to the public. Is there anyone here in Globe that wishes to speak to the Board of Supervisors? How we doing over there, Cassandra? No one?
We have 50 people.
50 people. And Lisa, I can't really see you very well, but is there anyone in Payson?
No, sir.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to item 4, which is our reports. Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, had conversations recently with the Arizona Commerce Authority. If you recall, approximately 5 years ago, the Arizona Commerce Authority brought to us opportunity zones, certain zones within that are low financial area, lower financial areas of the county. And these opportunity zones are to be able to give tax credits and those things for development of hotels, houses, and different types of things. I don't know that the Arizona Commerce Authority put as much effort as they would have liked to have seen, and so they're revitalizing the opportunity zones, which are particularly in the southern portion of the county, this area. And so they're going to have Sherry has put together a list of approximately 30 to 40 potential people that would be interested in opportunity zones. They're going to have a meeting to reintroduce opportunity zones. Next week, the Arizona Commerce Authority is having a discussion, that's a 2-day discussion of opportunity zones and what exactly they can do, different funding, financing opportunities through opportunity zones. I've specifically been invited to attend that to gather more information and look at the possibilities and opportunities we have for opportunity zones here in this portion of the county. So I'll be attending that with the Arizona Commerce Authority next week for 2 days. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, on something like that, could we have a work session on it down the road to get more information of the information that you receive so that we can share it with our constituents? Anyway, attended a small counties forum on the 18th. It was nice, and the meal was very good, and I think that's one we sponsored. So, anyway, hold a project team meeting with Public Works tomorrow afternoon. I attended a meeting to review the proposed FEMA floodplain maps on the 17th with with the flood team, and that was on the 17th, and that's about all I have.
Well, thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last week, I attended your Northern Gila County Fire meeting,
Yep.
which looked like was a good turnout. I don't know how many people actually were there, but quite a few.
Yeah, we're about normal. Melissa, was it 59 or was it more than that? Roughly 60.
That was a good turnout. It was a room full anyway. After that, I went on to Phoenix to the eco meeting down there. It was mostly discussions about the Mexican wolf with a guy from Game and Fish, Jim DeVos, down there. Had a lengthy discussion with him over all this and about the numbers, what he feels like going forward as far as downlisting versus delisting and whatnot. So that ended up being a good meeting. From there, we had small counties, and I don't know, you were on Zoom, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tim, you were there in person. So it was a good turnout, and I want to thank Kathy and Sherry for coming down and helping putting that together too and cleaning up. That was a good thing. And then the next morning, you had CSA board meeting was there, which was a good turnout as well. Although I didn't realize I was supposed to do the small caucus deal, but anyway, we got through it. Then on last Saturday, I was in Alamogordo, New Mexico for Coalition of Counties. And at this meeting, we actually switched chairs. The lady from New Mexico came off and Paul David from Graham County went on as chair of that. And went over some other agendas that basically Howard Hutchinson is taken to DC with him this week and has a lot of meetings up there. And other than that, that's it.
Okay, thank you. I have been attending meetings. Alexis Sussdorf, who's a, what do you call the?
Water guru?
Yeah, she's a water guru, but she's like a lobbyist for the legislature in Arizona. And she's put together a water group, and I listen in on it, and there's a lot of different political approaches to how to solve water, which it shouldn't be political, but it is. And so right now there seems to be a big debate push over transferring of water. The transfer of water from significant basins throughout sort of the northeast part of Arizona into the Phoenix Valley. And these agreements go back several decades, and so the issue is that we've reached a point where we're no longer in what's called safe yield, and that's really where we should be. Safe yield means we don't do any more, we don't use any more than what can safely be replenished. Well, I think we're kind of way past that, so we're in this kind of an emergency mentality. Of course, our concern is Gila County, and SRP is probably the most significant concern when it comes to the transfer of water, because they could perhaps come into Gila County and start pumping groundwater and putting it into their system. Now, that could really create problems for people that have wells, like significant problems, and there's no legal problem with doing that. You can just dry someone's well up. So those are concerns. Water is something the state handles. It's not what we do. And so it's rather concerning to sit back and say, well, I can't do much about that. So anyway, there's lots of different opinions and ideas on how to fix that problem. If you have a good idea, let me know, because no one seems to know. The pre-fire season meeting was good, as usual, was very well attended, lots of different agencies, and it was really beneficial, I think. It's just a solid way of all the different agencies getting together before our fire season really gets intense and reporting on what's coming, how to fix it, how to prepare for it. And the prediction is that without too much surprise, it's going to be drier and warmer this year, or drier and warmer. There are more significant fuel loads such as grass and things, and so it is more dangerous than usual perhaps this year. That doesn't mean it will burn, but the potential is always there for that. So we need to prepare that it doesn't get super bad. And I did meet with Jeff and Christine about FEMA and the maps. Very interesting. My district seems like, because I think you're presented by district, and my district presents fairly positive on the changes, that some properties were positively affected with not as many negatively affected, which is good. And over the weekend, we had another drowning at Fossil Creek. That makes 10 or so fatalities over the last few years. This person was at the lower falls and apparently was jumping in and got into trouble somehow and didn't come back out. So Tunnel Rim Search and Rescue went and pulled him out, got him out. And I did call the ranger for the Payson District, find out how we were doing as far as improving the trail, the Bob Bear Trail, which is to the upper falls. And we're right on the edge of making that happen. So I'm really excited. Been pounding on that for 5 years, and it looks like we're just almost really at the finish line. So that's really good. Be a happy day when I can report we have the clearance to do that. And also wanted to report a happy, devastating day for Melissa. She turned 29 again yesterday. And so wish her a happy birthday. I don't know how many times she's been 29, but anyway, that's where most everybody stays, so that's good. So happy birthday, Melissa. And with that, I have nothing else.
I got one more thing. Thank you for mentioning water. So between the ECO meetings, Arizona Coalition, the county's meetings, data centers are coming up consistently. And the big reason there is for the amount of water that they take and the fact that they pretty much walk over the counties to get them built. So that's out there. You're gonna be hearing more and more about those. And a lot of counties are trying to brace themselves for what they're gonna do there as far as accepting them or not. And Jeff, thank you for doing the floodplain stuff, those maps. That's good. So with that, that's all I got.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Bill 1067 that was carried by
Yep.
Rogers on blight that I've been working on for a long time. Anyway, it made it through the Senate. In the House, it was not going to be heard, but doing some work with our lobbyists and everybody, it is going to be heard as Wednesday. And I got with them and asked if they wanted me to testify. They said they didn't think it would be necessary. I think Michael O'Driscoll is going to go down and testify on that. So it's still alive. They're making some changes to it, but we may still end up with a legislative bill for blight projects. And so, anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Mr. Menlo.
I'll just add that with the data centers, that it's a big issue with county managers in our discussions. Again, this week ago, Friday, had an extensive discussion about data centers, and there are some counties in Arizona that have ordinances that apply, and so that you're prepared whenever they come. So we'll be looking to develop ordinances in the county through community development related to data centers, which includes water and power and all of that are related to data centers. So that'll be coming up, more discussions in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, as we continue to live, technology is changing, needs are changing, society changes. So we need to be able to address all that. So thank you for the meeting today. We are adjourned. Thanks.